public COVID clinics. COVID vaccine and boosters are only available now at your local doctor's office, at the pharmacy, or at the health center in Plainfield. Be wise, immunize. For more information, call the health center at 454-8336. That's 454-8336.
At Northfield Savings Bank, we celebrate the ways you work and why you work. To build a business, to make a brighter future, to do something that matters. You don't do just one thing in your business, neither do we. Whatever your size, you have goals for yourself and those around you. Our commitment is helping you get there. Builders, makers, doers. Northfield Savings Bank. Find out more about us at nsbvt.com. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
WDEV also serves the Northeast Kingdom at 101.9 W270BR Island Pond.
The WDEV studio is sponsored by Sticks and Stuff and Swanton Lumber, Vermont's largest independent home center, powered by Marvin Doors and Windows. Go to sticksandstuff.com for store locations and hours.
The Brady Farkas Show is produced and funded by WDEV and the Radio Vermont Group. We welcome listener feedback. Email your comments to wdev@radiovermont.com.
The energy. So the barber trims my beard all nice, like an artist. Now, I didn't tell him to do that. I wanted the beard gone. So then I went home and shaved it off completely after I was done. I felt horrible.
The passion.
Rafael Devers is the biggest contract in franchise history. He needs to be a leader for this Red Sox team.
The opinions on all your favorite teams.
Are the Patriots close to playoff contention? Yes. Are they close to Super Bowl contention? Hell no.
This is the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
What's up, everybody? Brady Farkas Show here on a busy Monday on WDEV AM and FM and WDEVradio.com. Full show today, all 90 minutes. We're right up until 7 o'clock, and then we pass it on over to Jazz with George Thomas. We got some thoughts on the Patriots and what's kind of a wild scene going on right now at the NFL owners meetings. I'm still trying to kind of wrap my head around the idea of Meek Mill texting Robert Kraft about Lamar Jackson and then Kraft pushing it off on Bill Belichick. We're going to get to some of this in the 6 o'clock hour. I kind of really want to focus on the Patriots tomorrow because we're going to have all the audio out of the owners' meetings, but it's too kind of weird and surreal for me to not tell you a little bit about it in the 6 o'clock hour, just waiting for kind of some more things to come out. So we will talk Patriots and owners' meetings coming up in the 6 o'clock hour. We'll have a lot of thoughts on the NCAA tournament, some news on the Red Sox, and then Delaney Richardson is going to be with us as well, the UVM women's basketball standout who just declared her intention to come back for a 5th year in Burlington. She'll be with us at the end of the show today, about 6:45. The show is brought to you by Fecto Homes, and you can get in on the Napa Morrisville, Napa Waterbury text line, 802-585-3026. Remember, you can watch us live on Facebook Live and on YouTube Live as well. You can also check us out on my Twitter account. Let go.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And here we go.
And the opening thoughts on the Brady Farkas Show are brought to you by Sticks and Stuff and by Swanton Lumber. They are Vermont's most complete, locally owned home center with locations in Enosburg, Derby, Middlesex, St. Albans, and at Swanton Lumber. They're online at sticksandstuff.com. Again, Patriot stuff coming in the 6 o'clock hour. It's surreal what's happening. But right now, let me just start with the NCAA tournament. I love where we're at in the tournament, and I love this version of the Final Four. I don't think everybody feels that way, but I do. Okay, we have a 4 seed in UConn. We have a 5 seed in San Diego State. We've got a 9 seed in Florida Atlantic. I mean, this to me, we have run the gamut here, and Miami is a 5 seed as well. Like, it's just the 4th time since we started doing seedings this way that we don't have a number 1 seed in the Final Four. We didn't even have a number 1 seed in the Elite 8. This tournament has been crazy. It's been unpredictable. And you know what? I love it. I love it. And I don't know if all of you feel that way. I had someone I'm close to and that I respect say they are bored by the idea of Florida Atlantic and San Diego State. They said they wouldn't be watching that game because it's too boring. I don't know. To me, that's the wrong way of looking at it. I love the nature of this tournament. 802-585-3026. Do you like this Final Four, or are you boycotting it? Are you against it? Are you bored by it? Look, I'll tell you why I love it. Outside of UVM, I do not have a favorite college basketball team. I'm not rooting for Duke or for Kentucky or for Virginia or for North Carolina. I'm not rooting for a team. Outside of UVM, I'm not rooting for a team. I'm rooting for good games. I'm rooting for compelling basketball, both of which we've gotten. And I'm rooting for stories. That's what I like. If I don't have a team to latch onto, I want to latch onto a story. And these teams, this tournament, these upsets, they have given us incredibly compelling stories, and I'm here for it. Last year, we had the Blue Blood Final Four, right? We had Kansas. We had UNC and Duke playing each other in the Final Four. Last year was compelling also. I was perfectly fine with last year's Final Four. It was compelling. You had UNC and Duke. You had Coach K's final season. You had Kansas against UNC in the final, I believe. That's the Roy Williams Cup. Like last year, we were given compelling basketball and we were given compelling stories, and I was fine with it. Right now, we've got compelling stories as well. That's what I'm interested in. And it's really that simple. If you don't have a team, which most of us, when UVM loses, don't. If you don't have a team, then I'm left with rooting for storylines. I'm left with rooting for personalities. And we have a lot of them in this Final Four. Right? We have a Florida Atlantic team that has no seniors in the starting lineup. One of the advantages in the transfer portal era is supposed to be that mid-major teams can get old and can stay old. And here's Florida Atlantic that has no seniors in the starting lineup, that has a coach in Dusty May that at least I had never, ever heard of before this tournament, taking his program to the first ever Sweet 16 and the first Elite Eight and the Final Four. History is being made every time Florida Atlantic takes the floor. That to me is intriguing. That to me is fascinating. So I'm not bothered by Florida Atlantic being in the Final Four. I'm mesmerized by it because history is being made every time they go on the floor and every time they win. And I'm intrigued by this notion of the tournament that reinforces our belief that truly anything is possible. That is what has always been, I thought, the allure of this tournament, that anyone can beat anybody on any given day, that anything is possible. And here you have Florida Atlantic proving that. I love that that's actually a reality, right? For a long time, it used to be the little guy could win round one and then was going to get clobbered in round two. The last 5-7 years, that hasn't been the case. St. Peter's can go to the Elite Eight. Princeton can go to the Sweet 16. George Mason, 17 years ago, blazed the trail for your VCUs of the world to get to the Final Four. Gonzaga, like this, I love this. Anything is supposed to be possible, and now it actually feels like it is. So I love the idea that there is always hope. Will says, unlike college football, it's fun to see programs have a chance to compete that are smaller. Exactly. That's a good point. Juxtapose what we're seeing now to college football. I'll tell you what's boring. Ohio State, Alabama, Clemson, other in the college football playoff. That is why the college football playoff is expanding, so that they can have a little bit of college basketball in their tournament, right? To get to 8 teams, we're talking about 8 teams, talking about 12 teams. They want more of this in their tournament. They'll never be able to get this, but they're tired of Ohio State, Clemson, Alabama Invitational with one other team invited to compete. Clemson wasn't in it this year. I know that Michigan and TCU were, but the point still stands to reason. With the same 7 teams, yeah, Georgia too, right? Like the same 7 teams feel like they're in the running for the 4 spots. So I'm intrigued by the idea of San Diego State, non-Power 5 conference with a pair of coaches from the Fab 5 days, Coach Fisher first and now Brian Dutcher. I'm intrigued by that too. I am not someone who needs blue bloods. If the blue bloods are there, then fine. They can create good stories, but I don't need Duke. I don't need Kentucky. I don't need UNC. I like the notion that everyone can do this and anyone can be there. And it gives kind of corny, but it gives hope to every underfunded program and every under-recruited player out there that they also can have a magical and historic run. I'm happy to see a team like Florida Atlantic accomplish this. One other note off the storyline stuff, just on basketball, I want to give huge credit to Darian Trammell, the guard for San Diego State. Right? He went to the hoop yesterday with 1.2 seconds left and got fouled, hit 1 of 2 free throws to beat Creighton. First off, I believe it was a foul. And I give him credit for actually going to the basket. Some of you will say, swallow your whistle at all times late, but I think it was a foul, and I give Trammell credit for going to the basket because I think that end-of-game execution is one of the worst things going in basketball right now. And for a while, San Diego State was headed there too. But so often, we see teams that at the end of a game or at the end of a half have absolutely no plan. Somebody just dribbles the ball for 25 seconds and then takes some forced step-back 3 from 7 feet behind the line. That's what San Diego State was headed for. But Trammell got the ball in his hands and finally decided to do something with it. He went to the bucket. He forced the issue. He got a shot from in close, and he made Creighton actually play defense, and he made the ref actually make a call. I give him huge credit for that. Right? In baseball, we say, just put it in play, make the defense make a play. Well, if you strike out, they don't have to do that. In basketball, if you just pull up from 38 feet because you dribbled around for 27 seconds, you're not making anybody do anything. The ref's job is easy. The defense's job is easy. At least Trammell went to the bucket, and made Creighton play defense, and they couldn't do it successfully, and they made the ref make a call. Good for him. Jim Larinaga, let's not forget him. 17 years ago to the day yesterday was when he took George Mason to the Final Four. And now he's going to get a chance to go back for the first time with Miami. That's a good story. Again, you can have your blue bloods, and those can be fun like last year's were. But I'll take inspirational also in my Final Four, and that's what this is. UConn lost 6 of 8 games at some point this season. I thought they were dead in the water. I had UConn losing round 1 to Iona in a couple of different brackets. So UConn loses 6 of 8, gets off the mat, and now they're running through this field. Beat Gonzaga by 30. Larinaga, first time for Miami in the Final Four. San Diego State, first time in the Final Four. Florida Atlantic, first time ever even in the Sweet 16. Only their second time ever in the tournament. This is a fun tournament. I hope you think so as well. Do you think UVM will make a Sweet 16 trip in our lifetime, in my lifetime? Sure. I'm 33, gives them hopefully 60 years. I don't know if I want to be around until 93, but we'll call it 60 years. Yeah, sure. They can get there in 60 years. By the way, ironically enough, I want the record to show that I have been on the Florida Atlantic bandwagon for a decade. For most of the last decade, I have had a Florida Atlantic lanyard on my keys, or my keys on a Florida Atlantic lanyard for most of the last decade. 2013, I was coaching baseball at Norwich, right? We go down to Vero Beach for spring training. Went to I think it was a Friday night, went to Florida Atlantic and Florida International baseball game at Florida Atlantic, home of the Owls. Went there. I was a poor 23-year-old. Cheapest thing at the concession stand merchandise area was a Florida Atlantic lanyard. I have had that thing with my keys for most of the last decade. I very well might be too old to carry a lanyard like I'm still 23 years old, but I don't care. I love this lanyard. It works great. It's sturdy, knock on wood. And now the Owls are going to the Final Four. So let the record show that I have been a Florida Atlantic supporter for a decade, all thanks to Norwich University baseball in the spring of 2013. It's the Brady Farkas Show, brought to you by Fecto Homes on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. The Napa Morrisville, Napa Waterbury text line is open. Texter says, this is Travis, as far as the NCAA goes, give me the Blue Bloods all day long. Look, if they come with great stories, then that's fine, like last year did. But give me stories, right? Last year, again, Coach K's last season. Coach K against UNC, Duke UNC, first time, might have been the first time they ever met in the tournament. Certainly the only time they met in the Final Four. Hubert Davis's first year, I believe, coaching at UNC. Then he had Kansas against UNC, and he had, again, the Roy Williams connection. So last year was compelling for sure. This year is compelling as well. Joe says, the Final Four doesn't surprise me at all. Look how crazy the season was. I like the parity of the college game this year. I am rooting for UConn, but would love to see FAU win it all without ever having been in the tournament before. They've been to the tournament one time before, but they hadn't ever been past the first round. So they have been in the tournament, though. All right, we'll take more of your texts. We'll get into the college hoops scene again in the 6 o'clock hour. We'll have some of the stuff from the Patriots on the owners meeting, too. I'm still processing it as I talk about college hoops. I got a notification yesterday about the Red Sox. I have no idea why I got this notification. I was floored that I got it. I'll tell you what it was and why it was so surprising next on the Brady Farkas Show on DEV.
Hi, it's Ryan from Wendell's. In furniture, selection is important. When it comes to choices for your home, Wendell's offers Vermont's largest showroom for you to explore. And we always have 70 recliners on the floor to choose from.
Hi, it's Joe from Wendell's. Do you have young kids or pets? Life can get a little messy, right? No problem for our couches and chairs made with cashmere, our most popular performance fabric. My son literally smeared blueberries and it came right off within seconds. Come to Wendell's and we'll demonstrate.
Wendell's is also proud to offer Smith Brothers furniture, the best-made custom sofa available. Made in the U.S., Smith Brothers is handcrafted with hardwood maple frames, reinforced joints, and the highest quality foam available, and uniquely customized just for you.
So unique, you'll even find your name under the seat cushions, signed by the craftspeople who made it just for you.
So come to Wendell's, where customers become friends, and see why we've earned over 200 five-star reviews.
Come to Wendell's, we make deals. Wendell's Furniture.
Are you a Vermonter receiving Social Security benefits because of a disability? Are you working or trying to find employment? Disability Rights Vermont is a nonprofit organization with a mission to protect and advocate for the rights of people with disabilities. DRVT helps people that receive Social Security benefits to overcome obstacles to employment. DRVT has assisted Social Security beneficiaries in overcoming disability-based discrimination in the workplace, as well as addressing employment barriers related to problems with housing, transportation, or education. DRVT services are confidential and may include information, referral, advocacy, and legal representation. If you or someone you know receives Social Security disability benefits and is experiencing barriers to employment, please contact us at Disability Rights Vermont, 1-800-834-7890 or www.disabilityrightsvt.org.
Radio Vermont Group Director of Digital Marketing, Nathan Wright, on the Radio Vermont Group Digital Marketing Experience.
The Radio Vermont Group offers anything digital. It can be connected TV or smart TV, social media advertising such as Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Snapchat. We also can help design websites and then find different ways to get websites found, such as search engine marketing and search engine optimization. We can place ads on platforms including YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio. Every month you'll get digital reports from us saying how your ads are trending, who's watching, how many click-throughs to your website, if that's the program that you're looking to track, and how many impressions you get online.
To learn more about digital advertising with the Radio Vermont Group, including samples of our work, go to rvgdigital.com.
Think you know sports better than Brady does? Text in with your thoughts at 802-585-3026.
This is Freddie Coleman of ESPN, and you're listening to Brady Farkas Show right here on WDEV and WDEVradio.com.
Brady Farkas Show back at it here on this Monday on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. Usually we have a guest in this time period of the show, but Delaney Richardson, the UVM women's basketball standout, is going to be with us at the end of the show today, about 6:45. Red Sox season starts on Thursday, right? I'm pumped for it. You know how much I love baseball. I've been ready for the Red Sox to come back since last October 3rd, 4th, 5th, whenever it was. They played their last game last season. I've been ready for the Red Sox, and yeah, I still don't think it's going to be a great season this year, but nonetheless, I can't wait to see how it plays out. So yesterday, I'm eating lunch, right? I went out yesterday by myself for lunch, got a sandwich. I'm sitting down, I pull up my phone, and all of a sudden, my phone buzzes. And I read the notification, and it says, Tristan Casas making Red Sox opening day roster. And I thought to myself, why is this notification worthy? Was it ever in question that Tristan Casas was going to make the Red Sox opening day roster? To me, it wasn't. Like, I'm thinking, why is this worthy of a notification? Because Tristan Casas making the Red Sox roster was not a question. It was a foregone conclusion. Like, we are closer to Red Sox are reliant on Tristan Casas this year than we are to Tristan Casas might not make the team this year. To me, it's always been a given that he was going to be on this 25-man roster and that he was going to be counted on because he's an extremely important part of this 25-man roster. So while yesterday's notification, I guess, cemented it, just read the tea leaves, baby, and you can see that this was always going to be a given. Like, the Red Sox cut Eric Hosmer months ago, right? Eric Hosmer was a player the Red Sox acquired last year. He was a player they clearly liked. He was a player that was getting paid the league minimum. He cost them absolutely nothing. He's a veteran with good leadership skills, which is something this team needs. And they just got rid of him. They did that to open the door for Tristan Casas. It was not a question if he's going to make this team. It's a complete given. Now, Eric Hosmer might not be the guy who signed the big deal in San Diego. Might not be the guy who helped lead the Royals to a World Series, but he did bring a lot to the table. Veteran, left-handed, good defense, well-liked. You acquired him, making no money. They got rid of him. They did that for a reason. They did that so they could play Tristan Casas. They decided we don't need two left-handed hitting first basemen. We've got our guy, and it's Casas. The second tea leaf to kind of read here, the Red Sox signed Justin Turner, and they signed him for a purpose as well. One, it's well established by everybody involved that Turner is going to end up being the primary J.D. Martinez replacement at designated hitter. If you're going to put Turner at DH most of the time, and you've gotten rid of your other left-handed hitting first baseman, Tristan Casas playing first base was always a given. It was always a given, right? Turner's going to play DH. Hosmer's gone. First base is open. And we never thought it was going to be Bobby Dahlbeck. We always thought it was going to be Tristan Casas. It's also been said, I've read multiple places, Turner can play first base against tough lefties to give Casas a break. Alex Cora has said that. So if he's out there saying we're going to give Casas a break, why do I need a notification? I get that these companies want to put out push notifications to your phone about everything, but let's use a little common sense here, people. Let's use a little common sense that we didn't need the push notification on this because it's always, to me, been a given that Tristan Casas was going to be here. They got rid of Hosmer to open up at bats for Casas. They're telling us that Turner's going to play DH to leave first base open for Casas. And then just last week, we heard from Alex Cora that Tristan Casas might spend some time at the leadoff position this season. Like he might do some work hitting leadoff. We don't hear comments like that about guys that aren't going to be on the roster. We just don't. So it's always a given that he's going to be here. I don't know why my Sunday needed a notification in the middle of my lunch. I don't know why my Sunday for a little while had to be ruined because I'm trying to eat my lunch kind of phone free, but all of a sudden it started buzzing at me and it's all about Tristan Casas. So now the question is not, is he going to make the team? The question is, how high can he go this year? The question is, how productive can he be? That's the real question. Not will he be here? It's how effective will he be? Because they need him to be very effective. Like with Yoshida, Casas being productive can change the calculus of this team. There's absolutely, that's absolutely a fact. If Yoshida's good, the offense hits a different level. If Casas is good, the offense hits a different level. If both of them are good, the offense can all of a sudden look very, very formidable. If Casas comes in and does rookie things, hits 227, struggles, goes for prolonged droughts, then the Red Sox offensive ceiling is greatly reduced. But if he comes in and has a major rookie impact, like Michael Harris Jr. did last year for the Braves, then, who won NL Rookie of the Year, by the way, if he can do that, then the offensive ceiling is much, much higher. So I'm getting notifications saying, oh, this guy made the team. That's great. I'm like, I knew he was making the team. Now I need him to be good. Now I need him to be really good. Most projection systems have Casas somewhere between 240 and 255. I don't love that. I've seen him with 18 homers and somewhere in the mid-60s for RBIs. That would be a fine season for a rookie. It would. But I think he can give the Red Sox more. I really do. I believe Tristan Casas can outperform those projections. I just like his offensive profile. Really, I just like the offensive profile of Tristan Casas. He can hit for power. He can hit to all fields. He has good strike zone knowledge. And with the shift limitations, it's an easier climate for lefties in general to hit in. So I think he could be more productive than those projections, at least average-wise. If he hit the 18 home runs, then I would take that. If he hits the 18 home runs, I would take that. But if I see average projections at 240 or so, 246, I like to think there's a little more in the tank there. And I think he can have a very good on-base percentage. He just has the offensive skill set for it. He's a patient hitter. He doesn't go outside the zone. That leads me to believe that he's going to get pitches to, he's either going to take his walks or he's going to get pitches to hit in hitters' counts, and he's going to be able to do something with them. He can go to all fields. I think he can play pepper on the Green Monster. And he certainly has the power. We saw that last year. He hit 5 home runs in the time where he came up last season, only in September. I think it was 5 home runs. I just like Casas' offensive profile. I think he can outperform those projections. Of course, he's got to stay healthy. I know they're going to give him some days off, so will he play 130 games instead of 162? Maybe. And that would bring down at least his counting stats. But I'm not worried so much about the counting stats. I think his average and his on-base percentage will be better than what I'm seeing right now. And the Red Sox offense greatly needs him. Greatly needs him. There's very few things with the Red Sox that you can count on, especially offensively. The more production you get out of people like Casas and like Yoshida, the better overall the performance will be. All we know about this Red Sox offense is that you can count on Devers. That's it. Right? We don't know what we'll get from anybody else. Kike Hernandez, health concerns. Christian Arroyo, health concerns. Alex Verdugo has never quite lived up to it yet. Right? Turner, getting a lot older. I think he'll be all right. I think he'll be pretty good, but we don't know officially. Yoshida, we don't know officially. Devers, Casas, we don't know officially. The Red Sox need some more certainty. And I'd like to think that Casas can go on his way to providing some of that. Red Sox season begins on Thursday against the Orioles. I'll be very interested to see. By the way, Casas and Volpe for the Yankees, Anthony Volpe, who just got announced that he made the team as a shortstop. It's going to be a fun little battle here in the AL East to see which rookies can be the biggest contributors, right? Volpe for the Yankees, Casas, Yoshida. Yoshida is a rookie. Obviously, he's a guy, though, with more experience than Casas and Volpe. Be interested to see what happens here. It's the Brady Farkas Show, brought to you by Fecto Homes on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. All right. We're going to get the CBS News update. And then I'm going to do the segment. I do this segment about once a year, and it's time to do it again today. The Boston Bruins yesterday played the Carolina Hurricanes. The Carolina Hurricanes yesterday were an embarrassment. An absolute embarrassment. I tell you why, and why I do this segment about once a year. I'll tell you why the Hurricanes were an embarrassment and infuriating. I'll tell you next here on DEV.
This is WDEV, Vermont's news station, owned and operated by the Radio Vermont Group. From the top of Sugarbush, 96.1 FM, WDEV Warren and Waitsfield, 96.5 W243 Barrie, 98.3 W252 CU Montpelier, along with our founding station, AM 550 WDEV Waterbury Montpelier, streaming at WDEVradio.com. 91 years of serving Vermont, the friendly pioneer, WDEV.
This is CBS News on the Hour, presented by Indeed.com.
I'm Monica Ricks in New York. Nashville police say today's mass shooting at a private Christian school was a targeted attack. 6 people, including children, were gunned down by a former student, a 28-year-old transgender woman who mapped out the massacre. Chief John Drake.
We have a manifesto. We have some writings that we're going over that pertain to this day, the actual incident. We have a map drawn out of how this was all going to take place.
Nashville Mayor John Cooper says he's devastated.
Now I'm overwhelmed at the thought of the loss of these families, of the future lost by these children and their families. And the leading cause of kids get death now is guns and gunfire.
And it's pushing more calls for gun reform.
I'm Stephen Portnoy at the White House, where President Biden calls the shooting in Nashville a family's worst nightmare.
It's just it's sick.
The president noted that police said the shooter was armed with 2 assault-style rifles.
So I call on Congress again to pass my assault weapons ban.
Republicans in Congress have been steadfastly against that since the 1994 ban expired nearly 2 decades ago.
Massive protests apparently paid off in Israel. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is now pausing judicial reform plans. State Department spokesman Vedant Patel.
We welcome this announcement as an opportunity to create additional time and space for compromise. And compromise is precisely what we have been calling for.
In New York, a grand jury heard more testimony from National Enquirer editor David Pecker on hush money payments involving former President Trump. CBS's Graham Cates.
Here we are again. There are just a couple of protesters. But, what we know is that today they're meeting again. We don't know for sure what they're going to be hearing while they're meeting again.
Their next session is Wednesday. It could be months before we know what caused a massive explosion at a chocolate factory in Pennsylvania that killed 7 people. West Reading Police Chief Wayne Holben.
Now that all unaccounted for individuals have been recovered, the focus shifts on the daunting task of cleaning up the aftermath.
Cleanup's also underway in Mississippi now, where an EF4 tornado decimated entire neighborhoods. CBS's Lana Zach is in Rolling Fork.
The devastation here, when we're talking about recovery, has to be put into context. This entire town of about 2,000 people, for the most part, has been wiped out entirely. It's gone. But that said, there are bulldozers all over. There are people who I've spoken with who have come from all these different neighboring states who are all just pitching in.
26 people died in the storms in Mississippi and Alabama. This is CBS News.
Streamline how you hire with Indeed. Their powerful hiring platform makes it easy to attract, interview, and hire candidates all in the same place. Visit Indeed.com/credits.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager. Learning the lingo.
GOAT, G-O-A-T, acronym, stands for Greatest of All Time. As in, spaghetti sandwiches for dinner? They're my fave. Dad, You're the GOAT.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same. Visit adoptuskids.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Heart failure, carpal tunnel syndrome, shortness of breath, stomach issues, lower back pain. How does it all add up? If you have heart failure and any of those seemingly unrelated symptoms sound familiar, it's time to talk with your cardiologist and get the full picture. They may add up to transthyretin amyloid cardiomyopathy. ATTR-CM is a rare and underdiagnosed disease. Recognize the signs and discuss them with your doctor soon. Learn more at connectwithyourheart.com. That's connectwithyourheart.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
A long-feared population bomb may not go off.
The Club of Rome study projects that the global population will peak lower and sooner than previously forecast, far from hitting 9.7 billion by mid-century and then rising slowly after that, as the UN has suggested. The new calculation suggests human numbers could peak at as little as 8.5 billion as early as 2040. Reducing population pressures on our natural resources would be good news for the environment, but a rapidly falling population will also create new problems, such as a shrinking workforce and the healthcare and economic challenges that come with an aging society. Vicky Barker, CBS News, London.
A lawyer for a group of British tabloids wants a judge in London to toss lawsuits by Prince Harry, Elton John, and some other celebrities who claim they invaded their privacy. According to the lawsuits, publishers hired people to bug their phones, their cars, homes, and record all their private conversations. Monica Ricks, CBS News.
Your chance to be part of the show is on the text line at 802-585-3026.
This is Field Yates of ESPN, and you're listening to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV Radio and the WDEV app.
Roger from Middlebury wants to know real quick on the Red Sox before I get into this other story. Who I would have the Red Sox lead off with? I would have Kike Hernandez lead off. He's done it before. We saw him do it at a high level in 2021. When that team got to the ALCS. So I would choose Kike Hernandez. It's kind of an easy choice. We have heard that Casas is going to lead off at some point. Maybe as we get later into the season, I wouldn't want to put that pressure on him early. I hope that Alex Cora wouldn't do that to him in April. Maybe if he's raking through April and May and you want to do it in June, then I can be on board with something like that. But I think Kike Hernandez is the guy. I've read Christian Arroyo doing it against lefties. I could be on board with that, too. I think Arroyo is a guy who's got good bat-to-ball skills. So I'd go with Kike, though, as kind of my first choice. I'd go Kike Hernandez in the 1 spot, Devers 2, 3 for Turner, 4 for Yoshida, 5. And, in here it's kind of where we get all screwy, right? Maybe 5 for Duvall, 6 for Casas, 7 for Verdugo, maybe 6 for Verdugo, 7 for Casas, and then the catcher, and then Arroyo 9th. Maybe, depending on kind of who the catcher is, maybe Arroyo 8th and the catcher 9th. That's kind of where I'm at right now, but we'll all find out for real on Thursday. By the way, Thursday, 2:10 first pitch. Our coverage begins at 1:10. Red Sox look like they're going to keep Yu Chang on the roster. Also look like they're going to keep Connor Wong at catcher. They're kind of still debating on Jarren Duran and Raimel Tapia, so we'll see what happens there. But all right, I want to get to this story. I'm not going to spend too long on this because a lot of you have actually heard me do this segment before. Some of you probably have heard it multiple times. So I'm just going to do it once here, and I'm going to just try to do it short and sweet. To me, it is absolutely gross and offensive that yesterday the Bruins played the Carolina Hurricanes and the Hurricanes were wearing Hartford Whalers jerseys. To me, that is absolutely gross and offensive. One of my biggest pet peeves in all of sports is teams wearing the jersey of a city that they left behind. Right? So often, these teams are stolen from cities. They're stolen from ownership groups that want to meet them. It, to me, is an affront to the previous city every time the new city wears those old jerseys or those old logos, because they're not doing it for honoring. They're not doing it for tradition. They're not doing it for anniversaries. They're doing it for money, and that is it. The Carolina Hurricanes do not give a rip about the history of the Hartford Whalers. They do not give a rip about the people of Hartford or the history of the Whalers in general. The only thing they care about is the dollars that will come when they sell a jersey or a hat or a mug or a T-shirt or anything with the Whalers logo on it. That is it. Every time this happens, I get upset. If the Washington Nationals wear an Expos jersey, I get offended. If the Colorado Avalanche wear the Quebec Nordiques jersey, I get offended. If the Hurricanes wear the Whalers jerseys like they did yesterday, I get offended. Okay, these teams left behind those cities. They ripped away, in many cases, the history of those cities. You do not get to benefit financially from it and rub the noses in the ground of the city that you left behind and the fans that you left behind. If you wonder why I'm passionate about this, because I've lived this multiple times, right? I grew up in Seattle. I grew up a Sonics fan. Sean Kemp, Hersey Hawkins, Detlef Schrempf, Gary Payton, Rashard Lewis, Desmond Mason, Ray Allen, Sam Perkins. I grew up a Sonics fan. The Sonics were stolen by an ownership group in Clay Bennett that moved them to Oklahoma City. If the Oklahoma City Thunder ever wore Sonics jerseys, I'd be writing Oklahomans and Washington Congress people telling them to stop. That is how strongly I feel about this. If the Oklahoma City Thunder ever wore Sonics jerseys, it would not be honoring. It would not be fun. It would not be nostalgic. It would be embarrassing, and it would be infuriating. And it would be infuriating to everybody else in the state of Washington or everybody else who grew up a Seattle fan. My dad grew up a diehard Cleveland Browns fan. The Cleveland Browns were stolen in the middle of the night by owner Art Modell and moved to Baltimore. Now, yes, the Browns came back a few years later, so we don't have to see this in football. But if the Baltimore Ravens ever associated themselves with the Cleveland Browns, he would not find it cool. He would not find it honoring. He would find it offensive. And it would make him cringe. And that is how I am sure most people in Hartford felt yesterday, seeing the Hurricanes wear Whalers jerseys. I have no time for this. Yes, it's a cool logo. And I get that for people who haven't had this happen or for people who it's not their team, it is cool to just see the logo. It's a cool uniform with a cool color scheme. I do get that. But I am too close to it to see it that way. Right? I like the Quebec Nordiques jerseys. So when they appear, I do think to myself, hey, that's a cool logo. But then I remember, you know what? Somebody in Quebec who's 35 years old had their childhood ripped away from them, their childhood fandom ripped away from them when the Nordiques moved to Colorado. And by the way, the Avalanche won the title in 95, 96, right? So the year after the Avalanche left Quebec City, they won the title, right? They beat the Florida Panthers. Huey Krupp got the goal there in the fourth overtime or something like that, third overtime, fourth overtime, past John Van Beesbrook. Great goal. Anyways, you say I don't know hockey. So the Avs win the title. The year after leaving Quebec City, they didn't even bring the Stanley Cup to Quebec City. So don't tell me you care about Quebec City. You don't. If you cared about Quebec City, you would have paraded around the cup in that city. No, you just decided 25 years later to go and wear the uniforms because you could. You never cared about Quebec City. They unretired. You know, the Avalanche unretired the Nordiques jersey numbers. The retired Nordiques jersey numbers got unretired so that Avalanche players could wear them. Don't tell me you care about the organization's history. Don't tell me it's about legacy. It's about one thing, and it's about dollars, and that disgusts me. If I were a Whalers fan that grew up in Connecticut yesterday, or heck, a Whalers fan that grew up anywhere, I would be furious and fuming to see those jerseys on any team but my own. And look, I believe that the Whalers logo should stay with the city of Hartford. I don't believe there will ever be another NHL team in Hartford. But if there was, they should have the crack at the Whalers, not the Hurricanes. There should be, I believe there are, junior teams with those color schemes named the Whalers. If they want to put the NHL All-Star game in Hartford and play, have teams wear Whalers jerseys, I could probably get behind that. What I can't get behind is the Carolina Hurricanes rolling out those jerseys like it's some great honoring of tradition when it's not. It's about one thing, and that's dollars, and it's a slap in the face to everybody who grew up in Hartford that had their heart broken. The Sonics left Seattle in, I don't know at this point, 2008, 2009 maybe. So I was 15 years ago. I'm 18 years old, something like that. I probably cried at 18 years old seeing the Sonics leave Seattle. Probably. I might not have, but I probably did. And that pain is still there. Right? I don't have an NBA team because the Sonics aren't there. I missed out on watching a lot of NBA growing up because the Sonics were taken from me, because I didn't want to watch it. I missed out on watching a lot of LeBron's early career because I just didn't care. I missed out on watching Kobe because I didn't care. I missed out on watching a lot of these guys because I just was anti-NBA because my team wasn't there anymore. So I hate when teams do this. All right. Texter says, couldn't agree more. So disrespectful to the cities and fans. Thank you. Peter in Williston agreed. My uncle is still mad to this day. The Cincinnati Royals were stolen by Kansas City and then moved to Sacramento to become the Kings. Agree? That goes well beyond my life, but I totally agree. John in Moncton says, I loved the rivalry. Oh, let's see. I agree. As a longtime hockey fan, I was disappointed when the Whalers left Hartford. I was happy when Browns fans sued to keep the Browns' names in Cleveland. I loved the rivalry between Nordiques and Canadiens. Thank you to expressing the sentiments of many longtime fans. Of course. And look, you may not understand this if you haven't lived it. You might not understand this if you haven't lived it. But if you have lived it, you will get it perfectly. You will get it perfectly. Again, because usually the new city doesn't give a rip. If the new city cared about the old city, I would probably be okay with it. Right? But when I tell you that the Quebec Nordiques didn't get the cup brought to Quebec City, and that the Avalanche unretired their uniform numbers, you haven't shown one bit of caring about Quebec or Quebec City. Not once have I ever heard the Oklahoma City Thunder do anything for the Seattle Supersonics. If they broke out the jerseys, it would be nothing but a money grab. I may be wrong on this. But I thought I saw a story recently that said the Tennessee Titans might wear Houston Oilers jerseys, right? The Oilers left Houston and became the Titans. The Titans actually played for a year or two as the Oilers in Nashville, right? They were the Tennessee Oilers back in the day for 1 or 2 years, maybe just one. But Eddie George was there, so we're talking mid-90s. They were the Tennessee Oilers. If the Titans ever wore Oilers jerseys, I'd be furious. Heck, I'd rather see the Texans, who have no connection to the Oilers, wear Oilers jerseys, because I think the Oilers jersey should stay with the city of Houston, and I'd rather see the Texans wear those jerseys. I don't want to see the Titans wear Oilers jerseys. And the Oilers have great uniforms. Those baby blue Oilers jerseys with the baby blue helmets are some of the most iconic throwbacks to me in history. Don't want to see the Titans wear them. I'd want to see the Texans wear them because it belongs with the city, not with the organization that stole them out of the city. It is the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV, brought to you by Fecto Homes, streaming at WDEVradio.com. We are going to have Delaney Richardson on a little while. She's going to be with us about 6:45, the UVM women's basketball standout. I want to get back into the NCAA tournament here to a degree, right? Not much, but there's something I want to focus on. I want to talk a little bit about Gonzaga, and not so much the game, right? Because Gonzaga was just absolutely smoked by UConn in the Elite Eight. But I want to focus a little bit on Drew Timme. Remember Drew Timme? He's the guy, he's the best player on Gonzaga. Floppy hair, mustache. Looks like a guy who'll be great in a men's league in a couple of years. To me, Drew Timme is what college basketball needs more of. And I don't think most people see it that way. If you are not a Gonzaga fan, I feel like most people are making fun of Drew Timme. I see it on social media, right? People talking about Drew Timme, and I get it. He's got kind of an awkward old man game. He's not really an NBA prospect in my mind. He was in college for all 4 years. It felt like forever. He's got the mustache. He's got the headband, kind of the histrionics when he scores, etc. So people find Drew Timme an easy target to make fun of. But for me, you shouldn't be making fun of Drew Timme, because Drew Timme is what I wish college basketball had more of. And that is a one-school, 4-year player. To me, Drew Timme represents what's great about college basketball. It represents what's fun about college basketball. And I don't think a lot of people are getting that. People want to focus on how he looks or how he plays or if he'll make it at the NBA. How about we just appreciate that Drew Timme and players like him are great for college basketball? In the era of the transfer portal, in the area of everybody moving around the college sports landscape, Drew Timme stayed in one spot for all 4 years. And to me, now, that's something to be commended, and it's not something that we see enough of anymore. Now, the transfer portal is fun. I admit that. It is fun. If you are a bad team, you can become a good team very, very instantly, right? And you're allowing players to not be bound by contracts, or you're allowing players to not be bound by the fact of if their coach left and they couldn't. So the transfer portal has brought some good things. It has brought some good player empowerment, and I get that and respect it. But to me, the one school 4-year player is rare, and it's good for the sport. Like, let's just kind of check the boxes here. For Gonzaga, obviously it's good, right? Obviously it's good. McCormick over at Kansas last year when they won the title. This is good. You get a very good player and you get them for all 4 years. That's excellent, right? That helps your team be better. That's obvious. That player then helps build upon and expand your culture. You get a player who grows old with your program and becomes a leader. So we know that the 4-year player is good for the school. But it's also good for fans of the sport, isn't it? One of the biggest reasons that I don't follow college hoops outside of UVM is because, honestly, I don't know who's playing for who most of the year. And that's just a fact. And I think a lot of you are in the same boat, right? Outside of UVM, I don't know who's on what roster until about the middle of January. I have to have watched 10 games 15 games to know who's playing for who. Guys go to the NBA after a year or two. Guys transfer. Sometimes they transfer to 2 and 3 schools. I can't keep track of everybody. Drew Timme's been at Gonzaga for 4 years, and I know that. Fans of Gonzaga can get attached to a player, and that's a good thing. And casual fans at least have an idea of where Drew Timme is playing, and they at least have a little idea about Gonzaga as a result of it. That's good. And the 4-year one-school player is also good because it helps create rivalries. And isn't rivalries what's supposed to be so great about college sports too? I don't think rivalries are as good as they used to be in major college basketball because the players are so transitional. The players are so in and out. You don't have time to develop hatred for players like you used to. Duke was easy to hate with J.J. Redick. UNC was easy to hate with Tyler Hansbrough. These are guys that are there forever. They help create rivalries, and Drew Timme is the exact same way at Gonzaga. And then finally, kind of on a hopeless romantic note, isn't it nice to see somebody love their university enough to want to stay for 4 years? Right? Drew Timme could have gone to the NBA. He could have gone to the draft. He could have transferred somewhere else. He could have gone to play in Europe, but he didn't. He didn't do any of that. He said, I want to stay here. I want to stay at Gonzaga. I love the program. I want to accomplish something here. And in an industry where there's a general lack of loyalty among everyone, it's refreshing to hear that.
I just told him we had a hell of a year. I was proud of him. I loved him. Want to do this journey with anyone else, and kind of what Coach said. I don't think anybody thought we would make it this far this year. Just the stuff that we overcame as a group and how we just stayed together, I think speaks volumes to who we are as people more than players. And I just told them I just was so proud of them, and just to thank everyone that supported us, because we didn't do this alone. It was with the help of all the fans and everyone that just cheered us on. It was a special year.
That's someone who appreciates his university, his community, his coaching staff, his fan base. I think that's rare, and I think that's something that should be valued. Right? So I see a lot of people taking shots at Timme, a lot of people taking shots at Gonzaga. Maybe just sit back and appreciate that in an era where nobody stays put, coaches, players, administrators, that this guy actually did. Yeah, there are some guys like the Ben Shungus of the world at the lower level schools like UVM. Some of those guys will stay. We do see it. But at major college basketball, we don't see it that much. We don't see it enough anymore. And it's fun to watch guys that grow in a program and want to stay. Texter says, I believe UVM is going to be the East Coast version of Gonzaga sooner rather than later. I hope so. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen. Right? Everybody says, oh, UVM can be the next Gonzaga. I don't think so. I want more for the program. I want bigger for the program, but it's going to be really, really hard. If UVM was ever going to be at that level, they got to obviously get the new arena. Then they've got to be able to recruit well above their weight class. Then they're going to have to win the league every year, which they've done well recently. They're going to have to roll through the conference. They're going to have to start getting 14 seeds and winning a game. They're going to have to then get a 12 seed, and they're going to have to win a game. They're then going to have to get a 10 seed and go to the Sweet 16. And then eventually they're going to have to go, they have to go far. It seems that's an uphill battle. I'm greedy when it comes to the UVM program with their development. I don't think I'm that greedy, though. Texter says, I'd like to see players stay all 4 years. My first disappointment with the one and done or two and done was Michigan with the Fab Five. I would have loved to see how far they could have gone had they stayed together. It's tough because everybody has a different life situation, right? I don't know where a kid grew up, the kind of family they came from, the kind of financial situation they came from. If you've got a guy who can go to the league and make millions versus staying in college, I understand guys who want to leave and guys who have to leave. I'm not judging guys who do leave early, but I am saying that guys who stay should be celebrated because they are a rarity. And it's refreshing to see guys that want to stay and will forego some of that stuff. Maybe they're able to financially forego some of that stuff, but it's nice to see them, 4-year play. Don't judge the one and done guys. Celebrate the guys who stay, though. It's the Brady Farkas Show, brought to you by Fecto Homes on WDEV, AM and FM, WDEVradio.com. All right, let's make a little sense of what's going on at the owners' meetings with the Patriots. Robert Kraft holding court today, saying something very, very interesting. We'll give you the latest. That's next on DEV.
Heart failure, carpal tunnel syndrome, shortness of breath, stomach issues, lower back pain. How does it all add up? If you have heart failure and any of those seemingly unrelated symptoms sound familiar, it's time to talk with your cardiologist and get the full picture. They may add up to transthyretin amyloid cardiomyopathy. ATTR-CM is a rare and underdiagnosed disease. Recognize the signs and discuss them with your doctor soon. Learn more at connectwithyourheart.com. That's connectwithyourheart.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager. Learning the lingo.
GOAT, G-O-A-T, acronym, stands for Greatest of All Time. As in, spaghetti sandwiches for dinner? They're my fave. Dad, you're the GOAT.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same. Visit adoptuskids.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Local businesses advertise with WDEV because they get results. Brian Bittner of Bittner Antiques shares his experience advertising with WDEV.
We've done a number of recorded ads with WDEV, which have a great response. And we've also been doing live radio call-ins once a week for the past few years. And the response of that has just been amazing.
Interested in advertising on WDEV? Contact us at WDEV@radiovermont.com.
Put a frog in a pot of boiling water and it'll jump right out. But put a frog in a pot of cool water and slowly heat it up, that frog will boil. As a metaphor for us and all that we go through as veterans, it's a story that rings true. We learn to endure the heat in silence. We apply what we learn to life, the bills, the job, the family, things we're expected to handle with ease. When life heats up around us, we just try to stay afloat. We let the water boil. Reaching out isn't easy, but you've never been interested in easy. You joined because you were not afraid of hard work. You are not a frog. If you or a veteran you know needs support, don't wait until the water boils. Reach out. Find resources at va.gov/reach. That's va.gov/reach. Brought to you by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs and the Ad Council.
Progressive presents an ad from Mom.
When you bundle your home and auto insurance with Progressive, bundle, that's a cute word. What? Read it again? Okay. When you bundle your home and auto insurance with Progressive, you get round-the-clock protection. Oh, that's darn good. Because once my older sister Dottie, her basement flooded.
Get round-the-clock protection when you bundle and save with Progressive. It's easier than getting your mom to make this radio ad. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Discount not available in all states or situations.
I thought learning a language would be too much work, but Babbel makes learning fun. J'aime Babbel.
Babbel's lessons only take 10 or 15 minutes. And soon you turn and realize, hey, I'm starting to speak another language. How'd that happen?
Babbel isn't robots talking. You learn words and phrases from real native speakers. I was ready for real-life conversations in just a few weeks. So easy.
Go to Babbel.com to try for free. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
Do you love a bargain? Then the WDEV Trading Post online marketplace is for you. Get great deals on goods and services from local businesses, furniture, gift certificates, recreation discounts. You'll never know what you'll find. All deals are at a reduced price. Save money, and maybe you'll discover something new. The offerings and prices are constantly changing, so check back regularly at tradingpostmarketplace.com.
Make your opinion heard by texting onto the Brady Farkas Show at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show here on this Monday, WDEV AM and FM, WDEVradio.com. Delaney Richardson, UVM women's basketball star. In about 15 minutes, I'll get you the Patriots news in a second here from the owners' meetings, but just a little bit of breaking local hoops news. Ryan Odom, you remember this name? Ryan Odom is the former basketball coach at UMBC. He left UMBC a couple of years ago, right? They won the tournament game against Virginia. He left UMBC a few years ago. He went out to, I believe, Utah State. Someone can check me on that, but I believe Utah State. And now he just got offered the job at George Mason. Now that makes some sense, right? He's kind of done the logical progression thing. George Mason is the logical step up from a place like Utah State. He's also got, more importantly, those kind of nation's capital connections, right? His father, I believe, was at Virginia. He's at UMBC. He can recruit the area. He's from that area. Ryan Odom was offered that job. He turned it down. So a couple of things. One, that job is still available if John Becker wants it or if he can get called. And two, if Ryan Odom can get called on that, I don't know why John Becker can't. And I've told you all along, I think that's the job I'd worry about if I were a UVM fan. If you want to hold on to Becker, that's the job I'd worry about. Even though he's from Connecticut, he kind of grew up professionally in that D.C. metro area, right? He coached at Catholic. He coached at Gallaudet. He's got ties to that area and clearly has liked it in his career. The George Mason job is a job that I would be fearful of, okay? If he's going to leave, that I think more money, A-10, program's been in the Final Four, has resources of a program that's been in the Final Four, and an area that he generally has liked in his career, that is what I would say would be a good fit for John Becker if he wants it. And again, if they'll call him. So we will see. Interesting stuff. By the way, here's another piece of college basketball news. A player from Brown, right? Brown is where TJ Sorrentine is the coach. A player from Brown just committed to North Carolina. Paxton Wojcik averaged 15 points a game for Brown this year and is transferred to North Carolina. If a player from Brown can go to UNC, don't tell me that Aaron Deloney can't go somewhere good as well. Now, Paxton Wojcik, 15 points a game. That's excellent. 15 points a game in Brown. Very good. He ends up at UNC. If he can end up there, don't tell me that Deloney can't end up at a high major program. I had people telling me, Brady, you're overstating how good he is. You're saying he's not going to end up at that. If he wants to, he will end up somewhere good. Kid from Brown goes to UNC. Aaron Deloney could go to a really good mid-major or a pretty darn good high major as well, I think, and play 15, 18 minutes a game, come off the bench, shoot a couple of threes, score between 7 and 10 points. No doubt in my mind. So don't tell me Deloney is not going to get good phone calls. He is. All right, let's talk about some of the craziness here going on at the NFL owners meeting. So it's day one of the owners meetings, and we don't have any of this audio because a lot of this stuff is kind of happening kind of as we go. We will have more audio tomorrow, but here is the big storyline, or here's kind of the big storylines. One, Robert Kraft has not guaranteed that Bill Belichick is above being fired. Robert Kraft said, and I'm paraphrasing all of this, said that I want Bill Belichick to break Don Shula's all-time wins record, but we don't go for our players to, break records and get stats. We want to win, AKA, if we don't ask our players, if we don't, let our players reach milestones, we're not just going to let Bill Belichick hang around to reach milestones. That one, okay, interesting. Robert Kraft also said that we experimented last year on offense with Matt Patricia, and it didn't go well. That's kind of a shot at Bill Belichick, like you're trying things. Said that Mac Jones last year was put in the middle of this experiment, and it didn't go well for him. Also said that I like Mac Jones. But then this is the one that you're going to see on social media circulated the most. And this is the one that's the most interesting. Robert Kraft said, now look, Robert Kraft's 82 years old or something like that. 81, maybe 82. Robert Kraft is friends with Meek Mill, the rapper. Right? A lot of you know this. I think Robert Kraft helped get Meek Mill out of prison a few years ago. Or was there when he got out of prison, something like that. They have a strong connection, Meek Mill and Robert Kraft. So Robert Kraft says, Meek Mill texted me 3 days ago and said Lamar Jackson wants to be a Patriot. But then Robert Kraft says, but that's up to Bill. So Lamar Jackson asked the Ravens for a trade. That came out today. On March 2nd, he asked the Ravens for a trade. Now, Meek Mill was telling Robert Kraft, hey, spoke to Lamar. Lamar wants to be a Patriot. Robert Kraft knows it. And now he's just, hey, it's up to Bill. There's a lot going on there. One, just still the friendship from Robert Kraft and Meek Mill is fascinating. Two, you have Robert Kraft saying, hey, I like Mac. By the way, Lamar wants to play here, but hey, it's up to Bill. See ya. That's kind of where we're at. This is now all in Bill Belichick's court, apparently. Robert Kraft has done a great job at making nothing his fault and everything Belichick's fault. Now, Robert Kraft has always said football personnel decisions are up to Bill Belichick, so this is not new. But in this case, it does a great job. You cannot have any blame at Robert Kraft. You can only have blame at Bill Belichick because he's saying, hey, everything football-wise is up to Bill. We know that he wants to be here. We know he said he wants to play for the Patriots. It's up to Bill. So, AKA, if it doesn't happen, blame that guy. don't blame me. I mean, if I'm the Patriots now, I'm making the phone call. If I'm Bill Belichick, I am making a phone call. I have said from the start, I want Lamar Jackson to be the Patriots quarterback next year. I have also said from the start, I think the price is going to be too much. 2 first-round picks guaranteed, maybe a third first-round pick, and $250 million guaranteed. To me, that's too much. If the price comes down, then I'm in. But I'm making the call to see where the price is at now. And Robert Kraft can like Mac Jones all he wants, and Bill Belichick can like Mac Jones all he wants. The bottom line is this: Lamar Jackson is far better than Mac Jones. He is. Lamar Jackson has something Mac Jones doesn't have. Elusive speed and the ability to be a game breaker. And the Patriots have so many other weaknesses, they need game breakers. We've been operating under the assumption they're going to have an average quarterback and got to find game breakers around him. Well, if they can have a game-breaking quarterback and kind of average around him, I'll take their chances. Then I will take my chances with that version of the Patriots. 1,000%. I would rather have Lamar Jackson in kind of average weaponry than Mac Jones and the weaponry the Patriots have now, where I'm hoping to find maybe a game breaker in the draft. I still don't think that the Patriots are going to go after him. I don't, because I still think the cost is going to be too high. But if the prices come down, the Patriots need to be making a phone call. Because Lamar Jackson, if it's not, I don't even care about the picks, right? I don't care about the picks. 2 first-round picks, 3 first-round picks means nothing to me. What means something to me is the guaranteed dollars. Lamar Jackson is too much of an injury risk at his style of play to get $250 million guaranteed. If it's $150 million guaranteed, I'm a lot more likely to be in. If it's less than that, I'm definitely in. Make the call, Bill, and see where we're at. Robert Kraft is saying, hey, we got the message loud and clear. Lamar wants to play for us. Now it's up to the hoodie to deal with it. And I hope that Bill Belichick deals with it. At least be prudent and make a phone call. At least be prudent and make a phone call. What would George Steinbrenner do? Well, yeah, George Steinbrenner would go out and get his guy. Texter says on UVM, maybe UVM can go out and get NIL money for Caleb Love, who's leaving North Carolina. Just kidding. That'd be amazing, though. John Becker did say that NIL money hasn't really affected anything with UVM, hasn't really seeped down to this conference yet. I found that interesting. There is enough money in Vermont, I would think, to pony up something for players. Now, I'm not saying they got to get rich, but I think there's something. Speaking of UVM women's basketball got some great news over the weekend. Emma Utterback, Delaney Richardson are coming back for their 5th years in Catamount Country. We're going to talk to Delaney Richardson. Did she ever consider leaving and entering the transfer portal? So be with us next here on DEV.
I'm Melissa Bounty, Executive Director of Central Vermont Economic Development Corporation. Join me, Higher Ability, and the Vermont Department of Labor at the 14th Annual Central Vermont Job Fair, Wednesday, April 5th from 12 to 7 p.m. at the Berry Auditorium. Our new extended hours are for job seekers looking to make a career change. Interview on the spot with Community National Bank, National Life Group, Northfield Savings Bank, and other regional employers like Central Vermont Medical Center and Cabot Creamery. That's April 5th, 12 to 7 p.m. at the Berry Auditorium.
Here in Vermont, it's now easier than ever to recycle computers, television, batteries, household paints, fluorescent bulbs, and mercury thermostats. Special recycling programs let you drop off these items at participating locations for free, since you can't toss them in the trash. To get details on where and how to recycle special items in your neck of the woods, call 1-855-63-CYCLE. That's 1-855-632-9253 or visit vtrecycle.com.
It started off as a normal day. I felt fine when I arrived at the plant.
Ruth Junius's life was about to change.
Then I dropped my keys. They kept slipping out of my hand. My arm felt numb. A coworker asked me if I was okay, and I couldn't speak. I started to get scared.
Ruth was having a stroke. People around her weren't sure what to do.
They thought I should go home or lie down, but I knew something was very wrong. I wrote 911 on a piece of paper with my other hand, and someone called for me.
Because everyone acted quickly, doctors at the hospital were able to give Ruth treatment that started to reverse the symptoms.
Within a few minutes, I was talking again. I didn't know a thing about stroke before I had one. Now I make sure that my friends and family know all the signs of stroke so they'll get help fast if they need it.
No stroke. Know the signs. Act in time. Call 1-800-352-9424 for more information. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, National Institutes of Health.
Hey, everybody, I'm Lee Cattell. Have your lunch with Brady Farkas and me weekdays on the Midday News Service. The latest local news, Brady's sports report, Roger Hill updates from the Forecast Center, plus business, interviews, and breaking news as it happens. The Midday News Service, weekdays during the noon hour on Vermont's news and sports leader, WDEV FM and AM. Streamed at WDEVradio.com. Want Brady to hear your opinion on the sports stories of the day? Text in at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show right here on this Monday, WDEV AM and FM, WDEVradio.com. Full shows planned every day this week. Thursday is opening day for the Red Sox, so we'll have, we'll be on afterwards. And with the new pitch clock, I'm anticipating a full show coming your way on Thursday, but full shows planned for the most part, at least every day this week. The UVM women's basketball team had a banner season. We've talked a lot about the men's bracket today, but let's go over to the women's side of things. UVM women got to the NCAA tournament, losing to UConn in the first round. And one of the reasons why is the play of Delaney Richardson. The senior had 9 points a game this season for the Catamounts, who won the America East title. And she just announced with Emma Utterback on Friday that they are coming back for their 5th years in Catamount country next year. And Delaney Richardson is with us now on the phone line. Delaney, congratulations. Thank you for being with us. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am well as well. I appreciate it. We'll talk about your decision to come back momentarily, but what your team accomplished this year was really special. Has it sunk in yet? Have you been able to put it into perspective yet?
I mean, it definitely took a minute for me and the rest of the girls to realize, how successful we actually were, because we never really wanted to focus on that during the season. We wanted to keep moving forward and focus on the next thing that we had to do and get done. But now that we've had some time to reflect, yes, certainly has. And I mean, I couldn't be prouder of our team. So
your team won 17 games in a row. How much pressure was there building as the season went on?
I think we tried to, there was a lot of pressure, but I think we tried to, keep our minds off of that and focus on the next task at hand. And if we let the pressure get to us, then we couldn't perform. So I think we really focused on the mental side of the game.
38-36 was the final of the America East title game. When's the last time you played a 38-36 game in your career?
I don't think I've ever done that. That was a rough offensive game, but thank goodness we work on defense so much and we're able to do what we do best. So,
we hear this word a lot, and sometimes it gets thrown around as a cliche, but I think in your case, in your team's case, it applies, is culture. Talk about how this program has grown over the last 4 years that you've been here, kind of from the team you committed to the team you are part of now.
Well, honestly, a lot of credit goes to Coach Kresge and our coaching staff, because they really focus on the girls that they bring in, and, that culture is in the front of their minds when they do that. It has a lot to do with basketball talent, but it also has a lot to do with how the player would contribute to the culture of the team. And, when Emma and I and Carly and the other girls that came in with our class got here, the team was, the pieces were being put together. Coach Kress had just stepped into the new role and everything. And it was definitely coming together, and we really took it from there and decided that this was going to be our team. And we figured out what we wanted, and we were able to implement that. And so far, so good. I mean, it took a little bit. It took 4 years, but it's where we want it to be. So
you get to the NCAA tournament, you play UConn at their place, historic program, historic building. Did it feel just like basketball, or did it take some time to kind of be grounded and not be a little awestruck? Might be the wrong word, but maybe it's not.
I mean, it was the nerves were certainly there, but I get nervous before every game. I've been that way since high school. It was very, very cool to have the opportunity to play at such an historic program, to play against a historic program. And it was very cool to be, that widely broadcast on national television, to have all the people at home and back in Vermont that weren't able to make it to the game, which was something that, I couldn't be more grateful for. It definitely took a minute, and, it was tough at first to get used to the gym, the crowd, everything. And I think it wasn't necessarily a shock for us because we knew how good they were. And we knew that we were going into a very, very challenging game, but it took a minute. So
I'm trying to draw on just my memory bank here. I think I'm right on this. Does your sister also play Division I basketball, and did you get to play against her earlier in the season this year?
She does, and yes, I did. She actually was also able, so unfortunately her season came to an end, and she was able to be with me for the last, I think it was the championship, the American East Championship. She was able to come out to Vermont and, cheer our team on. And then she was also able to come to UConn to watch. So that was more special than I could have ever imagined. It was unfortunate that her season ended, but it was very, very cool to have her there.
And where does she play again?
Miami of Ohio.
Okay, that's what I thought. So more special this year, NCAA tournament or playing against your sister?
That's a tough one. I would honestly have to love my sister, but that game was not our game. The experience was great, but I think the NCAA tournament definitely takes the cake on that one. So.
Did your parents or support system have like one of those like half jerseys where one side is yellow and one side is red, or the front is one color and the back is one color?
Yeah, my mom and my grandma actually had the split shirt. One side was Vermont, one side was Miami, and they rocked it. So,
do you at least have the same number or something, so there could be like dueling threes or something on both sides?
She is 32, so I know, right? So we're one number away, but no, we couldn't do that.
UVM women's basketball standout Delaney Richardson with us here on the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV on this Monday. So you announced on Friday that you were coming back to Catamount Country for the 5th year. Was that an easy decision? Did you give consideration at all to entering the transfer portal, graduating? Did you give a decision, thought to other things?
So I honestly, in my statement, I said it was the easiest decision I've made. I would not, and I've said this since I got here, I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. I wouldn't want to play for anyone else or with anyone else. The only thing that I did think about was not playing and moving on and going to graduate school and things like that. But I think after kind of getting sophomore season taken away from me due to COVID, we only played 6 games. I think that certainly made the decision a lot easier. That I knew that I wanted to play another year. I thought, I would feel like my college career was unfinished if I didn't get the full 4 years. So.
It's kind of well documented, your relationship with Emma Utterback, and that you were both from Indiana and played together growing up at some point. She also announced she was coming back. Was it a decision that you two made together or independent of one another?
Well, it's a similar situation to when we committed. Obviously, we love to play together. We've played together for more years than we haven't played together. It's that since that type of decision is such a big decision, it's definitely something that has to be made on your own. But I'd be lying if I said it didn't have anything to do with her coming back too. So I think it's something that we considered together, but ultimately a decision that we made on our own. So,
the program has reached new heights this year, and I would argue it's close to at its ceiling right now. And I don't mean that in a bad way. You've already won the conference. You've already gotten to the tournament. The only thing that can happen now is a higher seed and then a tournament win. And we know how hard that is to do on both fronts. So knowing that, how do you not be complacent this offseason and still have that same drive, knowing you've achieved everything you wanted to achieve, and now you're running it back, trying to do it again, but add on just that little bit that's hard to get to?
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to be complacent with the successful season that we had. I think it certainly wasn't a perfect season, and I think something that we need to focus on in the off season is how to get going quicker, because obviously in the conference we started off with three of our first three games were rough. We lost the first two, and then the third one we pulled out, but it was a close one. And then in the non-conference, our first few games were tough too. So I think that's something we need to focus on. Is certainly, being able to start better, start quicker, that kind of a thing. And I think we also just need to look back and see what we've been doing in the off season in the past few years that has made us so successful, and keep doing that. I mean, our team is full of hard workers. Everyone's always in the gym. Everyone's always in the weight room. And I really don't have a concern about anyone being complacent.
I will get you out of here on this. I think you will be officially the last person I asked this to this year, but it made rounds everywhere else. I'm going to have to ask you. It's not who you think is the best player on the men's team. It's which player would complement your game best. So in a mixed gender 2-on-2 tournament, which Catamount men's player are you choosing to be your teammate?
So it would be fun if this could actually, come to light.
Yes, it would be fun.
Be carried out. I think my game would best be complemented by a guard. Gosh, I had actually been asked this a little earlier. I initially said AD, and I stick by that. I think, he is a great player. I also would say like Robin, Finn, Dylan. So yeah.
I think I had you paired with Dylan Penn when I did the exercise myself. I thought, his inside game, your outside game would be a good complement to each other. So maybe we can make it happen for charity, but there's all kind of compliance issues. So someone smarter than me is going to have to figure out how to do that. But Delaney Richardson, UVM women's basketball standout. We'll get to say that again for another year as she's coming back to Catamount country. Catamounts got to the NCAA tournament this year, and we'll see what's in store next year. We're already looking forward to it. Delaney, congratulations on the success, the decision, and we'll catch up down the road.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. First time getting to talk to Delaney Richardson on this show. We spoke to Lisa Kresge this year, Catherine Gilwey, Emma Utterback, but our first time with Delaney Richardson, and hopefully we'll have more chances to do so next year because, again, she announced that she is coming back alongside Emma Utterback. And, it's interesting because I don't think the team is necessarily going to be complacent next year. I think the biggest issue is like UVM is returning like almost everybody. So I think the biggest thing you run into is like, we've done this, we have an expectation, we know how it's done, and you just kind of put the pressure on yourself to speed everything up. Like, hey, we know how this should go. Like, you know what I mean? Am I making sense when I say this? Like you want to fast forward to the end of the season because you've already seen what the end of the season looks like. And you kind of will sometimes want to have a tendency to rush everything, right? A team still has to go through a team building process and a team chemistry process. And sometimes when you've already seen what the ending looks like, you're like, let's just kind of rush it along because I know we need to get to this point. Let's just get there. That'll be the thing they have to fight. I'll be interested in talking about all that with Lisa Kresge. Go download the full show podcast. Thanks to Delaney Richardson for joining us. More from the NFL owners meetings tomorrow. And Meg Adelini from WEEI in Boston stops by. Talks a lot about the Jaylen Brown situation with the Celtics. Podcast available, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and WDEVradio.com. Jazz with George Thomas is next.
Do you own land with a single or double wide home?